welcome to the opening of our 5th factory tour. I want to let you know we have attempted to maintain our goals of our factory tours. For those of you who have attended in the past, know that this is very, very targeted for techies, for developers, for architects. And we plan on being very developer focused. We will continue to show you the code in our sessions, and we'll have full engagement during the factory tour with our architects, our developers, our support teams, as well as our product managers. We will demo everything we can. We will show you the art of the possible with innovation cafes and share detailed roadmaps across our portfolio. And I know there'll be a whole lot more from the team. Let me introduce myself. My name is Richard Jeffs. I'm the Vice President, General Manager of Digital Solutions, and I'm happy to have here with me today Chris Healy, who's our Director of Central Engineering within Digital Solutions. We want to talk to you a bit about how we're reimagining how software is built here at Digital Solutions. So Chris, let's talk about that journey and let's cover it in 5 steps. I'm going to take the first one and the second one. Why don't you take 3, 4, and 5? So we started this journey over a year ago. We are very, very focused on how we could improve our development approach, how we could maintain the quality of our portfolio, and drive feature velocity and reflect it in our data points. We are going to share some amazing data that shows that the efforts and the work put in by this team has actually driven those results. We have also continued to make investments in the people in the team, their skill sets, our infrastructure, our tools, and our process. And when it comes to building software, we know that we can always do better, but I will assure you that we feel very confident we are on the right track in this journey. Chris, why don't you take 3, 4, and 5?
Thank you, Richard. When we talk about our people, values and culture are equally as important. That's the foundation of any successful transition. Our values establish how we're going to make decisions, and our culture reflects those in a measurable way. So our transition is really going to be based on values and culture. It helps us really determine where we want to be and how we want to go about doing this. As we transition, a big focus is going to be on eliminating the things that slow us down. Technical waste, obstacles, bugs, org design, all of those things slow us down and prevent putting fingers on keyboards and producing more valuable features for customers. And then ultimately, we want to have empowered teams that deliver value through all phases of the life cycle, right? So what we want to do is we're going to hire smart people and we're going to let them do their job. It's critical to getting to where we want to be.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. That was very helpful. So let's talk a little bit about how we used to build software. And let's leverage the analogy of building a car. And as you can see here in this example, that's not the car that we all want here, right? And for us, we want to build a high-performing process development approach similar to a high-performing car. And when we were building software in the past, we used to use this term where it's a bit of waggle. What is waggle? That waggle is where you have a combination of waterfall, agile, and other development processes. And what does that usually mean? It usually means that you have a lack of consistency, you don't really measure yourself the right way, you're not building and leveraging best in processes, and frankly, your customers get impacted by that. And you can see some examples here in the way we used to build software. Unfortunately, we would miss milestones. We weren't the most transparent organization. Our quality of our portfolio at times suffered, and we had to make more investment there. And at the end of the day, there were times where, frankly, we would just pull it all together at the very end and ship it. And that is not where we want to be, and nor is it what our customers expect from us moving forward. So why don't we talk about a little bit around what we're doing, where we're going, and how we want to build a high-performing software company that delivers results consistently and with the quality that all of you expect. And our expectations of the team is to build that high-performing team that is fast, performs impeccably, and is incredibly reliable. And when you think of that, think of an F1 race car, right? High-performing, and that is our target and our goal. So let's talk about establishing a culture of performance. And Chris noted this at the beginning. I can assure you that that culture and the values that we align across the organization is the foundation and the framework for strengthening who we are. And that has a lot to do with enabling our teams, empowering them, and ensuring that they have their North Star and they know where they need to target. Second, for us, it's all about the exterior. How does it look? How does it feel? And when we think about that, it has a lot to do with our practices, aligning our practices, establishing best-in-breed practices, ensuring that our teams are following them and adjusting those practices when needed. And this is really important for our teams to be able to enable them to have the best practices, the best tools in place to drive success. And third, let's talk about how we will enable how we work. And that interface, that's really, really critical. The interface with our customers and leveraging that transparency, leveraging our user experience team and improving that interface and how the products look, feel, work intuitively, and ensure that they are as simple as they possibly can. And finally, it's about the overall experience and how we continue to deliver high-end values and requirements to our customers and enable our teams to not only get the work done, but frankly, it's important for them to enjoy what they're doing. And we know as our teams enjoy what they're doing, the results that they will achieve will be even higher. So Chris, why don't we get into a bit more detail here and talk about our culture and our norms, please?
Thanks, Richard. Let's get that framework of our F1 and talk a little bit about our values. So what you're going to see here is a subset of our values, and I'd like to take a minute to highlight a couple. Let's talk a little bit about transparent and being transparency throughout your whole entire organization. So internally, metrics, artifacts, things of those nature. We have them in the hallways. They're posted. People can see them, feel them, touch them. This enables us to use the power of the organization to solve problems. And we have guild meetings where we get together and we have vertical slices of our organization that come together, all the engineering managers, all the scrum masters, and they talk about different ways to continuously improve. Being transparent and sharing these things with each other, really enables us to value the whole entire organization. Externally, we want to get closer to the folks in this room and on this call. We want to be sharing backlogs. We want to be having customer demos, in addition to the betas and all the good work that our TSA and sales teams do already. When we talk about servant leadership, we accept our managers, our senior leadership, our scrum masters to serve their teams, to remove roadblocks, to develop careers, and to build the team underneath them. It's part of their job. The only way that we get more done is by our managers and our leaders making it easier for our engineers and our teams to get that work done. And let's talk about being customer-centric. It really is so important to everything that we do. So let's get into talking about prioritizing customer success throughout the product life cycle. So building quality products full of feature value is not just about the building piece, right? It's about how we deliver the product, making the purchasing and delivery process painless. It's about gathering feedback and interacting with our customers and our partners to ensure that we're building things the right way the very first time. And then, when things don't go as well as we'd all like them to, ensuring that we provide world-class support. So what I wanted to talk about a little bit is about that development stage and how we're listening and responding to the things out in the field. So we've made some changes. First, and I think most importantly, instead of focusing on just releases worth of bugs, we're focusing on the entire product backlog because that's what's important. We need to reduce that technical debt. So we have a goal of a no bug being older than 14 days. That's the length of an iteration for us. So if you're in an iteration, you find something, You take it on the next iteration and you close it. What you can see over here on the right is our focus to really reduce that technical debt. So on the way far right, you can see that bugs older than 90 days, over the last 2 iterations here, we've taken a real hack at them. So we've, kind of taken some of that drag out of our car. And if you look way on the left, things less than 15 days, our teams are really starting to focus on that goal of no bug older than 14 days. Now, this is real data, so there's work to be done, and obviously you can see in the middle, we have some challenges when some of the 30 and 60-day things are growing a little bit old. That's okay, we'll attack them because we have a focus on reduction of bug debt. Every single team here is taking a portion of their capacity and focusing on reducing debt. I think the important thing here to note is that debt, creeps in multiple places. It's not just the work that you lose having to go fix those bugs, but it's all the extra meetings that you have and all the extra conversations that you have around eliminating the need for, a bug triage meeting. Is this a SEV 1 or a SEV 2? Is it a SEV 4? Is this something we need to get in this release? We need to get to a point where a bug is a bug is a bug, and you get all of that discussion time back, which is really great. So, Richard, why don't you talk to us a little bit about how it affects our customers?
Thank you, Chris. Let me look. You noted on it, and it is incredibly important. It does go back to our framework, right, of how are we cleaning up our debt, how are we staying focused on our customers, how are we ensuring resolution times are much more efficient, et cetera. And as part of this journey, we have really focused on this incredibly, and that could be from taking teams and having them during a sprint focus on their defect backlog, focus on the customer issues, clean up that backlog, and as Chris noted, it's incredibly important for us to set a threshold that each one of the teams can target. And what you can see here is, in less than a year, we've had over a 50% reduction in our customer issues. And this is an important number for us, right? It ensures to us that we are taking the right steps in our development process. We are being more transparent. Our communications are helping customers deploy and sustain and maintain and upgrade our portfolio much easier. And these are some of those data points that I mentioned earlier that we stay focused on across the organization, establish that goal and baseline for the team, and then we measure it incredibly and review it and go through what is working with teams and then take those best practices and push them out more broadly. And as you can see here, we have even more results with our NPS and our CSAT here. Our CSAT, our customer satisfaction, at a 9.7. We have never seen those types of numbers before. And I can tell you that a lot of that has to do with the framework that we've been putting in place, the tools, the practices. But I can tell you, my belief is the reason why we are at all-time highs with our CSAT has to do with our support team. They're incredibly passionate about how they support, interact, and drive resolution the first time as fast as possible with our customers. And you can see that as well in our Net Promoter Score. This is another metric that actually shows that what we are doing, the results are there. So let's talk about client advocacy. For us, this is an incredible program that we established about 2 years ago. And frankly, if you're not familiar with our client advocacy program, then I want to tell you, you're truly missing out. Why? Why are you missing out? Well, look at these data points that we have in place. We have over 300 customers that are leveraging this today. We have a significant number of issues that are resolved as we progress and leverage the lab advocacy team. This team reviews roadmaps and engages our customers and is a conduit back into the development organization. If you have not been part of this program before, I would recommend signing up for it. And I'd recommend you take advantage of it. And the one thing that I think is really important here for you to know, there's no cost. There's no cost for you. So if you're not leveraging this, then shame on you. And I would love to hear some feedback, but I can tell you the customers that we have engaged with this process and this framework have actually had Great results up to this point. So Chris, let's talk about how we continue to drive the results with continuous improvement. Let's talk about our definition of done.
Thanks, Richard. As we transition to talking about the exterior of our F1, I'd like to talk a little bit about a foundational block of our practice. So we talked about values and culture being the foundation of everything that we do within the organization. When we start talking about our practice, one of the main pillars is definition of done. I'd like to take a second to talk about how we build definition of done. So I think there's a few ways that you can build definition of done. On the left, you'll see kind of maybe the standard definition of done. Most organizations, as you come in, you have a certain set of skills and a certain set of things that you're doing well already. You kind of put a pin in that and you say, hey, that is our bar. We can't go lower than that. And you set it, right? And then you do your best to meet it and you incrementally add to it, which is good, right? You're continuously improving. But maybe sometimes you're not meeting it and you're still releasing and you're doing your best. I think that's the word. You're doing your best, right? I think that when you start talking about a high performance team and a team that really adheres to a strict definition of done and is always potentially ready to ship, it's a little bit of a higher bar. So what we'd like to do is have a single definition of done for all of our products. Each product doesn't have a separate set of things that make them ready to ship. As an organization, we have a bar, and I think that's super important. When you put that bar out there, instead of on the left where you continually add, you do the opposite here. You say where you ultimately want to be. Where do you think you need to be ready to ship every single sprint, right? And then you build an org to reach that bar. You support the organization. You remove obstacles. You do org design to put people in the right position to be successful. And as you're going through, you don't create that technical debt, because if you create that debt, again, you're not going to be ready to ship. And where on the left you do your best to meet it, what we're going to say here is we're only accepting stories, we're only releasing products where that bar is met. And that's super important. And when you put that line in the sand and you really meet it, the organization starts to rally around it. So let's talk a little bit about our story definition done to get you a little bit of an example of what we're talking about here. Right? So I think like most things we do in development, you want to move things to the left. The earlier that we can find a bug in development, right, the less it costs to us as an organization. I think similarly, what we want to do with the definition of done is the more things you can move into a story definition of done, the more successful you're going to be. And ultimately, really, quite honestly, the more prepared you are to incrementally ship. All right? So let's talk about what we need to achieve done. Automation. I think that, it's kind of a no-brainer in this day and age, but our commitment to automation is very high, because there's no way that you're going to be able to release without having automation. I mean, you can just look here at our definition of done, and we just kind of pulled forward a few of the testing pieces of our definition of done. When you're talking about performance testing, you're talking about functional unit testing, not having those items automated, no way you can do things in incrementally that way. It's just impossible. What you're going to have is you're going to have that card that Richard talked about. Everyone's going to come at the end. You're going to try to piece things together, test it for 6 weeks at the end, and then, pray and hope that it goes out well. The other thing that we talked about here is when we talked about bugs earlier, we're going to move to that, all known story-related defects are resolved and automated in that sprint. We're not letting that bug backlog grow. It's not acceptable to say, oh, it's just a sub 5, we'll fix it later. Everything affects our customers, and we're going to clean those up now. So, Richard, why don't you talk a little bit about how we work?
Yeah, sounds good. Great. Thanks, Chris. And I'll tell you that DoD is our baseline and is so critical and part of that foundation that we have in our development process. So let me talk about how we work in that interface, right? How are we interfacing internally and externally with customers and partners? And first and foremost, and we're going to cover this in a bit more detail momentarily, but removing obstacles that are impacting our teams is so important to everything we do. And I know it sounds very, very simple, but frankly, it really isn't. And what we've had to do is we've actually established a process and a framework in place around obstacles. Those obstacles, we have an SLA in place on if they're not resolved in a certain amount of time, then they are escalated. And they're escalated to where at the leadership level, we have a weekly obstacle removal meeting where we go through those top obstacles and ensure that they're either progressing or we are solving them to allow our teams to continue to develop and maintain that velocity. Now, 360 and everything, Chris is going to talk more about this, but I will tell you, what does this mean for me? First and foremost, it's full transparency and clear measurements. Our development team provides insights into their velocity, the quality, their obstacles, and their readiness on a weekly basis. We review all of this data, and Chris will share some of that with you, and we ensure that we are aligned on what we have to get done, when we need to get it done, and ensure that we're delivering upon our commitments. And then finally, our customers we engage them in our development process always. This is a key foundational aspect for us from a software approach. That means engaging our customers in our jams and understanding what are they hearing and what are they seeing and what do they need. That means engaging them in our development process and having them part of our playbacks and retrospectives and sprints. And this frankly gives many of our customers and partners an opportunity to influence what we are focused on and what we're prioritizing. It really is a key aspect of where we are building software and the results that all of you are going to receive in the very near future. So let's talk about obstacles a bit more because they cause so much waste, Chris. Why don't you just go through a couple common ones? It might surprise some folks.
Thanks, Richard. To be honest, as we get to the how we work here, this is kind of where the magic happens, if you ask me. I think that, most practices have a definition they're done, and don't get me wrong, values and culture is super important, right? But here's kind of where, things start becoming actionable. And these are the tangible things that we can start showing you folks on the phone, as well as internally our engineers and our teams, how to make things better. So let's talk about obstacles. And I want to talk a little bit about the size of obstacles because all obstacles are important. And let's talk about running a marathon. All right, so you've been training for a while and you're getting ready to run the Boston Marathon, right? You've been putting in your miles, you've been putting in the effort. And now it's race day, right? And now you have two options. You can either take this little pebble and you can put it in your right shoe for all 26.2 miles, or you can put a backpack on with a 5-pound brick, right? My point there is obvious, right? It's those little things, it's death by 1,000 slices. It's those little things that really take our engineers, take our team members off course and cause them pain. And when they have pain, their pain results in less productivity for us. So everything, no matter the size, we're looking to remove it for our engineers, for our team members, right? And you'll see on the left here, right? There's important ones and there's things that people might think that are less important, right? So let's talk about something like bad pizza, right? So people are working hard. Maybe you're at the end of a crunch, you're getting ready to release. And we know how that all goes, right? We're bringing in food, people are hustling, working hard. We really had an obstacle where people said, what is this cardboard and ketchup that you're serving me? You expect me to work hard all day and then you're going to fuel me with this, terrible pizza? Come on, guys, make that a little bit better, right? So it sounds silly, right? But, back to happier teams equal happier customers. And that goes throughout our whole entire process. And then I think there are real heavy obstacles. When you see something like teams don't know how to work well together, right? There could be some coaching that's needed there. Maybe teams are shotgunning sprints. They don't know how to break down stories small enough. Maybe they don't know how to test things and they're doing mini waterfall within a sprint, right? Those are all the things that we need to kind of coach people and help them with. Richard touched on this, but I think that, finding obstacles is just kind of half the battle, right? And quite honestly, sometimes it's the easy part of the battle. Resolving them, that's really where the challenge is. So what we've done is we really have put a process, a practice in place around obstacle management. And like Richard said, we meet weekly on this. So we have scrum teams that are meeting throughout the organization every single day, and they're having things that are slowing them down. We have scrum masters that are in the trenches, and they're hearing what teams are talking about, and they're asking powerful questions to draw those obstacles out. When we find those obstacles, we have an escalated promotional system here where you have a set of boards. So in our organization, the first place an obstacle would go is on that team's board. They would take 2 days to try to resolve it. If they can resolve it themselves, then great. Then every 2 days here, every 48 hours, that obstacle is promoted up the stack. until ultimately within 8 days, it's at Richard's level with Richard's staff, seeing what they can do to help solve the team's problem. Now, it does two things here. As you kind of go up the boards here, as you promote that obstacle up the board, the first thing that it does is you don't know what you don't know. And what a big problem with obstacles is in the lower level boards, people think that they need to own it. Hey, it's an automation issue. How could a manager or a manager's manager or Richard help solve my automation issue? What you don't know is what they don't know. Maybe Richard has some budget where we can get a contractor. Maybe one of those other managers has a peer on another team that has a really good automation person we can steal for a sprint or two, right? So that transparency, again, leveraging the power of the organization is super, super important. The other thing that's super important here is the time box on the right. Having that time box and not letting things sit and age, it gives engineers, it gives our teams scrumming, right, a feeling of empowerment. I'm saying that something's bothering me and it's not going into the ether. My management hears it. They're servant leaders and they're responding and they're resolving them so that we can move faster. It's a really nice place to work once it gets going. And on the far right there, you see that we have an internal tool that we've created ourselves that we have on TVs in the hallways that engineers, that managers, that, TAC engineers, that support engineers, that TSAs, they can see their obstacles that they've raised. They can touch them and feel them. They can see the history, and they can see the ones that are resolved in the bottom. We also talked a little bit about 360ing everything. And this is really important to our practice and our interface. And it really affects our quality and our velocity. So what you're seeing here is a set of that metrics that Richard talked about. Specifically here, it's a set of metrics that our engineering teams bring to a meeting every single week. So we have this 360 meeting where weekly a different program comes in and they run through a set of metrics that we all run statically week after week. What this does is provides transparency, which we can share best practices and we can push on walls and turn stones. And this really is not a status meeting, it's a stone turning meeting. So let's give some examples here. In the middle of the page here, you'll see this HTMO team. And next to it, you're going to see 3 sprints of work. That's the work that they're burning down. So in this meeting, if I'm on another team and another team's presenting this, I may raise my hand and say, hey, I have a question about that HTMO team. It looks like they may be, kind of shotgunning sprints or not breaking things down small enough because they're really not getting the acceptance that they need. If we move over to some of our velocity charts on the right, if you look at that Nomad iOS team, you'll see the bars there. The green bar is how much work they accomplished. The gray bar is how much work they didn't accomplish for the amount of work that they committed to, right? My question there for that team maybe is, hey, the team's probably taking on a little bit too much work and they're not feeling successful. And when you don't feel successful, it's really hard to become a winning team. There's examples around this stack, things on retrospectives, things on our backlog management. We take all of those things in. Again, we turn stones, we push large walls, and we help each other be effective in managing our programs. Finally, around our interface is customers. So if we go back to the beginning of this presentation, we talked about being customer-centric. We went through some of the metrics, right? We talked about some of our bugs. We talked about resolving some of the incoming, and we talked about some of our NPS scores, right? But at the basis of building great products and building things that our customers want, it's really about interaction throughout that stack. It is about interacting, with betas. It's about interacting with our TSAs and all of those good things. But again, we'd like to move things a little bit more left. And we'd like to get you folks into our sprint demos. So every 2 weeks, every single team within this organization is producing code. And there's no reason why we can't be sharing that code as we build it and getting the critical feedback we need. So we're inviting all of you on the phone. There's a little QR code down on the bottom. There's a little email address. Reach out to us. Let us know what products you're interested in. Give us your contact information. And the last thing I'll leave you with here is we're looking for that squeaky wheel. We're not looking for customers. We're not looking for people that just want to come in and hear what we're building. We're looking for someone to say, I don't know why you would build it like that. We wouldn't use that. Hearing that from to our customers, to our offering managers, is super important in building things the right way the first time. We really appreciate you joining us. Looking forward to hearing from all of you folks. Richard, why don't we talk a little bit about delivering that high performance vehicle?
You bet. really stands out for me, and you tightened it up a little bit more at the end of the slide, is be heard. Quiet customers won't help us build great products. I just think that line is so important. Over the last 2 years, we have tried so hard to bring our customers closer, and I think that is just the next step of getting these customers into our sprints, validating that what we're delivering is what they need now, and if not, being able to make those adjustments very quickly. And I think that is where we want to get to a point across all of our teams to ensure that we're building the right products the first time. And that aligns here, right, around why does it really matter, right, to all of you? Why do you care as our customers and partners about our software development process, how we're moving towards more CDCI, and what does that value and all that work drive to you? And I will tell you, my experience at this point with this type of process in my previous roles, it really does allow us to deliver the right product and features the first time, which is incredibly important for all of us from a waste perspective, from a velocity perspective, and from ensuring that we're exceeding your expectations as our customers. We also want to give you early insights, right? Chris noted on this. Again, another critical aspect of our software being reimagined is how do we ensure that you have that transparency, that you're prepared for our features and the velocity to be able to either upgrade or migrate to a newer version and understand the value proposition and why you should be doing it. It again gives you an opportunity to influence our backlog. Many companies talk about this process, but we really want you to be part of our development process. We want to ensure that our developers, our architects, fully understand how our product is used by all of you. We at times assume that we know, but by speaking with you and getting our developers closer to you, we know that it'll drive value for both of us. It really, truly is a win-win scenario. We will see increases in velocity. We're already seeing that in our teams, and we will continue to share with you how we are performing as an organization when it comes to that. Our quality is core to everything we do. We cannot have enterprise-class products for our customers without the quality that all of you expect and, frankly, what you need as an organization. That is in our DNA. And it's just another area, as Chris noted, as we go through reimagining how we're building software, of ensuring that the quality is meeting the requirements of our customers and partners. Being predictable is incredibly important for us. It's something that we set down as a mandate, as a leadership team of if we're going to commit to features, products, and timing to all of you, we're going to deliver it. We've proven that over the last 2 years, and we will continue to have that as a core value and part of our culture as an entire organization. You make a commitment, you deliver upon that commitment. That is just the basics of what we need to do as a software company. And then obviously for us, much of this actually has a lot to do with how our teams are feeling. And we've learned, Chris and I and many of the leaders, as we evolved our processes and moved from a command and control model to much more of a model where we empower our development teams to pull what they want to build, to be focused on how they deliver, and ensure that those teams are happier. And we know with happier teams, that'll mean happier customers for us as well. So this is really important for all of you, and it does matter. And this is just the beginning of how you will reap the benefits and the value of the work that we are putting in. So let's talk about, this is just the beginning of our journey. We're evolving as we go along. I think you've heard this from Chris and I now, that we will continue to learn. We will continue to adjust. We will move at a speed that we've never moved before. And there will be times where we will stumble. But I want to ensure all of you that myself, Chris, and the rest of the leadership team is all about how do we get better? How do we get better? And that is a key part of our focus from a culture perspective. Some of you have maybe heard that, good is not good enough. We need to be great. And that is something that is core to our values as an organization. I'd also ask, again, this is just a kickoff of our factory tour. You're going to have many sessions with our developers, our architects, our product managers. We're going to show you the code. We're going to show you our roadmaps. We're going to demo the new features and functions of our portfolio. We're going to demo some of the innovation that we've done and lean out a little bit as well. I can tell you that I'm looking forward to the next 3 days. It's going to be an amazing factory tour again, and I hope all of you join us during this, and please be involved. We love your feedback, and we really do appreciate you being our customers. So with that, we'll wrap up here, just the beginning of our journey, and we will continue to keep you in line with what we are doing on a regular basis. Thank you from Chris and I. We really appreciate all you all do, and I hope you have a great factory tour.